This is a quick tutorial on how to use the dental add-on in Blender. More in-depth tutorial will probably come at a later point and be included with the add-on, but this should be enough to get you started and get an idea on how to use it. So after you install the add-on, go ahead and open up the Dental Starter Blend file. This file has all the proper unit and export settings and viewport settings you may need to get started. So go ahead and use this file. Let me show you a few things what you can do with it. Let's start with the denture teeth part of the add-on. Go ahead and delete the default tooth, enter orthographic front view, import denture teeth. Okay, the way I have this setup designed is that it can be easily manipulated with the Bezier curve. Select the Bezier curve and, for example, adjust the arch width, expand it or constrict it just by moving that Bezier curve along the y-axis. And what's really nice about it is that just by doing that, you have a whole array of anterior mold sizes right built in with this. And once you're happy with it, you can further adjust these by going into sculpt mode and maybe create more of a triangular shape. And that easy, you just created a whole new mold shape and size for your specific case. And you can further adjust the arch form by selecting the Bezier curve and going into edit mode, and select a curve handler here and hit GX, for example, and move that arch in to any situation you might have, and you can adjust the curvature of it, or you can also adjust the curve of speed by moving it up and moving this down to create a different tooth ratio, upper and lower. So this way, that should give you a good idea how to get started. You can next also use this for partial setups, of course, or if you just need an upper setup, for example, and you just will delete whatever you don't need and make it fit your case. This is not an in-depth tutorial, so I just want to give you a quick overview of what's possible. There's many things possible, like collisions and lateral movements very quickly, but I will maybe include this in a later tutorial, which shows you how to make a whole denture setup, and this will be probably included with the add-on. And that's pretty much it. So let's go into the next point. Let's delete this and go into partials. Import a partial model. Let's see if I can find one. Desktop, upper. After you have imported your dental model, you're usually presented with something like this, where the model is not aligned with the Blender viewport. So the very first thing, always, you want to align your models or model in the Blender viewport. So select your model first and go to Object, and then set origins to the center of mass surface. And this ensures that the pivot point of your model is in the center of the total surface of that model, and this way you will always rotate it around the center point. And let's grab this model and move it closer to the x-axis, because you want to make sure that your upper is always above the x-axis or roughly above the x-axis, and also we place that model more in the center, and the lower should always be below the x-axis. This is necessary for the block out to work properly. But once we are done with this, we can now survey the model. And how this is done, you select the model first, then go into orthographic mode 7:9 and view the have the bottom up view since it's an upper, and then go into transparent mode, and here you will see the undercuts as a double up outline presented. So in order to survey your model now, you hit double R, and there you can manipulate your undercuts where you want them to be. So if you, for example, on the left side, you want the undercuts where the premolars are here more severe, you would move it over here, and you can see how much undercuts we produce. But in this case, we probably want more of a balanced draw here, since there's so many teeth, and something like this should be good. And we are done surveying, and this is super accurate. I've done many cases like this, and the surveying is fantastic doing this way. So now we have this surveyed. Go ahead into the item tab here and freeze your scale, location, and rotation, so you're not change it anymore. And you can also give the model a color by going into the material tab, and there I have a dental stone color, which is like a Fuji rock color or something like that, and we're good to go. And let's start on making the partial. First, I usually go ahead and deactivate the floor and the axis and the viewport overlays in order to see better, and then I go over here into the dental undercuts, select the model to be blocked out, and select block out upper. And this might take a second depending on the power of your computer. And here you can see we have a nice block out. And if you want to adjust the strength of the block out, come over here into the modifier tab right here, and you can adjust the strength of the block out. Usually the block out is sufficient as is, but in some cases you want to adjust this. For example, if you have a splint and create more of a snap or less, then you can adjust it right here. You can also adjust the normal direction of the block out, so there's every setting you can set. And then you can also toggle a heat map, and the heat map indicates the depth of your undercuts. And how it is set up is that the red areas of your heat map indicates an undercut more than 0.5 millimeters. So the scale goes blue is 0 to 0.1 millimeter, turquoise 0.1 to 0.2 millimeters, green 0.2 to 0.3, yellow 0.3 to 0.4, and everything beyond that is indicated in red. So this is a quick, easy way to visualize the severity of the undercuts. And you can also hit Ctrl Z and go back and reposition your model, resurvey it, and just start back over. But another useful feature is the transparency mode, which I like the most because you can visually gauge the undercuts, and this is really helpful when you enter the sculpt mode and create parts where you want the class to engage, so you can then always visualize how much of an undercut you have still there, and this is really helpful. You can also block out more, just like in any other dental software, like so. And yeah, you basically have a full freedom of manipulating this undercut. Let's exit out back into object mode, transparency off, and then we can go and create a block out unified model. You can also just go ahead and work with this. I do this a lot of times when I don't have a watertight model underneath. I just block out the model, and I basically just work with a block out upper and an original upper to create my restorations or partials, which works just fine. You just have to keep in mind that in the end you will have to boolean both objects of your partial or denture. And so let's go into the Unify original blockout section and select make upper blockout model, which automatically will select the right model, so you don't have to worry about selecting anything. It will choose these models for you, and this might take a second depending on your computer as well. And now color change indicates that it is done, and we go over here in the outliner and deselect our original, and there you have a nice blockout model. And sometimes the algorithm has problems to create an airtight blockout model. This is due to poor mesh structure of your original model. So you always want to ensure that you have a good closed model, bring it in from a different software, or create a nice model here in Blender, which I may make another tutorial on. And but if you have a problem with making the upper blockout model, go ahead and remesh. Try to remesh both models with the remesh modifier right here. And so remesh the model first, and if that doesn't work, try to remesh the blockout as well. But for the most part, if your model mesh is in good shape, this will always work. So now we go into making the partial. During this section I will not talk too much, so if you want to follow along, open up your own blend file with your own model and maybe try to replicate something similar I'm doing. I will try to indicate with a mouse pointer. You can always look for the screencast, which buttons I press, and I will just point out a few things here and there, and let's get started. So I go over here to the wax presets, and here you have these two options, and these options are really all you need to create any partial. Let's go. you.